to Snuggerud in the high slot. No look pass to Thomas. Thomas score! Robert Thomas over the left shoulder of Wolf. Power play goal. 2-1, St. Louis. Parayko score! Colton Parayko on a slap shot. That puck was deflected right in front of the net. It might have been Jake with his second of the game. It was. And the Blues have taken a 3-2 lead, all off a big face-off win by Thomas. Here's Tucker again, now looking up ice. Tucker had a fight earlier in the game as he fought Lomberg. Golovkin to the middle. Walker to Tucker and to Joseph. And Joseph gets drilled. He paid the price. They score! Tucker, a slap shot from the left point after Joseph created the traffic in front. 4-2 St. Louis. Pius Suter tips it in.
Man, hearing those words, the traffic in front, it's the one thing that we were talking about after Thursday's loss, and it's the one thing that, well, not the one thing, but one of the many things that helped the Blues earn 2 points tonight. Welcome, everyone, into our extended post-game coverage. We call it the fourth period, and it's brought to you by First Community Credit Union, along with Jordan Deacon and Grant Francis. I'm Alex Ferrario as the Blues pick up that first win of the year, the most important one for the Blues to, one, forget about that 5-0 loss, and two, hopefully pick up some more confidence on the offensive side. But to hear the net front presence, to talk about the battles that the Blues won tonight, and really fighting through an awful lot of ish to get to this point. It was massive for those 2 points. Before we get to our Ted Drew's 3 takeaways, did want to remind you we are up on our YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL, where you can head on over to that and join in on the conversation. We've got our chat up at YouTube that you can jump in. You could give us some comments, some questions that you got, some thoughts, and you could also do so over on Twitter at 101 ESPN STL, or you can send it to me at Ferrario 101 ESPN. There's also our text line, 314-399-9646. There are so many ways for you to get involved because now we get our Ted Drew's 3 takeaways.
It's time for tonight's 3 takeaways, presented by Ted Drew's Frozen Custard, a St. Louis tradition for over 95 years. Unmatched quality, unforgettable taste.
The first takeaway for me was just the pushback by the Blues. In terms of all of the penalty trouble that they dealt with, to be able to fight your way back into that game, and really from the second period on, my opinion, the better team at 5-on-5. I mean, we're talking about 10 total penalties that were called. The first 2 periods, there were 8 of 10 penalties called. There was very little time to get your 5-on-5 play going. I mean, for the Blues, they were on the penalty kill for the first 2.5 so the first 4 minutes of the first period on the penalty kill, and then the final 5 minutes you're on the penalty kill for 4 of them. Then in the second period, the first 3 minutes you're on the penalty kill, and then you're on it again, and then you get a power play towards the latter portion of it. There was no time to get 5-on-5 chemistry going, and as much as we want to see special teams work and get that practice, man, this team was at their best last year when they played 5-on-5 hockey, and they were at their best against Minnesota and tonight at 5-on-5. Natural Stat Trick had the Corsi rating in the first period, 61% for the Blues, 53% in favor of Calgary in that second period. But at 5-on-5 in the final 2 periods, the Blues had 13 high-danger scoring chances compared to 10 on the Calgary Flames side. They had 17 total scoring chances, all of those at 5-on-5. So I thought it was an impressive performance by the Blues to be up and then down in the second period, spend as much time as you did on the power play and penalty kill, and also change up the lines to start the third period. And that can't go under the radar, by the way, of Jim Montgomery putting Pius Suter down with Matthew Joseph and Nathan Walker. In terms of ice time, you really didn't see Alex Texier beyond the middle portion of that second period. Didn't see a whole lot of Nick Bukestad either, who only played 5 minutes and 29 seconds. He relied heavily on their top players and then put Pius Suter out there with Matthew Joseph, and that line was the one to basically solidify the win for the Blues. And then just a little side nugget at the 5-on-5 play and the good ability by the Blues to battle through. Their penalty kill also looks really good. They've given up 2 power play goals in 2 games, which on paper you'd hear and it's like, oh, that's not great. Think of the 2 power play goals that they gave up. The Eriksson Ek one banks off the back goal post and then drops down in front of an empty net where there was nobody around. And then tonight, a shot through the crease that deflects off of Tyler Tucker's skating into the net. I mean, that's 2 goals scored on power plays. Your penalty kill has essentially been perfect, minus a couple of really bad bounces. And tonight, had to deal with the 5-on-3 and dealt with 6 total penalty kills. So another area that I think people should keep a really close eye on. Second takeaway from me, man, Jake Neighbors has been the engine in 2 games now. First game, Jim Montgomery against Minnesota. Why he moved Jake Neighbors up? Well, he said it was because Jake Neighbors looked like he was buzzing. And he said we didn't have a whole lot of 5-on-5, so we were trying to get him out there. And Neighbors had the scoring opportunities. Tonight, Neighbors dominated the front of the net. Like, if you look at the heat map for when he was on the ice over at Natural Stat Trick, it's red. That's just where he was tonight. He won those battles. But also, he was really responsible on both ends of the ice. Like, the reason that he was able to score that first goal was he and his line mates being so good on the back check with Calgary, stopping them at the middle of the ice. Falk picks up the loose puck. Neighbors is able to turn on the Jets, go the other way, and Thomas and Buchnevich are right there with him. So I don't know what's going to happen in terms of line combinations. I thought Snuggerud played a good game tonight, but man, it's hard to deny what Jake Neighbors has been doing early on. And when you find guys that are playing well, Jim Montgomery said this. He said that the first, he's like, the better you play, the higher up you go in the lineup. And the more you struggle, the lower you dip in the lineup. And I think Jake Neighbors epitomizes that right now in 2 games so far this season. Played 14 minutes and 44 seconds. Played penalty kill, played power play, and then, of course, played a little even strength for the Blues as well. Third takeaway for me tonight was Joel Hofer. Fantastic. I know Curbs and Joey broke that down. He's the only reason you won this game. I shouldn't say only reason. He's the biggest reason you won this game. Net front battles are huge. Saw that in the third period. But if not for Joel Hofer in the first period, but really for the second period where he made 3 sprawling saves on a couple of Blues breakdowns, Blues would be looking up by 2 or 3 goals. The game would have got out of hand. Joel Hofer made some miraculous saves for the Blues, but most importantly, and I know this is going to sound odd because of Binnington's numbers in the first game. Those, to me, 2 of those goals were rough on Binnington. Other than that, 3, there's just nothing you could do on some really lucky bounces for Minnesota. Joey's referenced this. I've referenced this. Talking with people around the league in the NHL, they view the Blues tandem as the best in the National Hockey League. Now, I don't know if it's considered the best. I'm sure somebody would look at another tandem and argue it. But with Joel Hofer and Jordan Binnington, every single game, you not only know how the goaltender is going to play, because both play the puck the same, both play the net the same, both are like a third defenseman. But you also have a guy that when he relieves your primary guy, you feel just as comfortable. So great game by Joel Hofer and continues his dominance against the Calgary Flames in the early portion of his career. Another side note, this isn't in the 3 takeaways, my 4th takeaway, I guess. You got to look at 6-on-5. Now, wasn't the same. 1, not the playoffs. 2, you were up by 2 goals. But still, I liked the formation that they were playing in that 6-on-5. They had layers. To get to the net, you had layers to go through. It wasn't just kind of spread out, letting them take the shots and hope your goalie can stop it. No, you had both defensemen in front of the crease. You had the next layer of forwards in front of those defensemen, kind of like a box. And then at the point, you had the guy who was chasing the puck wherever it went. So you had to get to, if you were Calgary, to get to the net, 3 different layers to score on the Blues. That's how you play at 6-on-5. I thought the Blues played it aggressively. I thought they looked impressive, and it was a really big factor into them closing out that win, despite them, even if they were up by 2 goals, still an important factor into them closing out that hockey game. So those are my 3 takeaways brought to you by Ted Drews. As always, we want to hear yours. We'll get those on the other side. Hopefully hear a little from Jim Montgomery, and we'll have the final performance, or the final look, brought to you by Pure Performance. A 4-2 final score as the Blues take down the Calgary Flames to pick up their first win of the season. It's the 4th period. It's brought to you by First Community Credit Union on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN.
Welcome back to the First Community Credit Union Blues postgame show, presented by Scott Lee Heating Company and Urban Chestnut on 101 ESPN.
Final time here on tonight's fourth period, brought to you by First Community Credit Union, alongside Jordan Deacon and Grant Francis. I'm Alex Ferrario, following a Blues 4-2 victory over the Calgary Flames. If you missed it earlier, Jake Neighbors, the number 1 star for Joe Vitale, Joel Hofer, the 2-star, Tyler Tucker picking up the work boots. And I didn't even mention the fight by Tyler Tucker tonight. I thought he played a really good game, and I know a couple of those bounces, just look at him and it's like, oh man, that's stinks that you're on the ice for that. But one goes off of his skate, the other one bounces off of his skate on the rush up the ice, and then that leads to the 2-on-1 that Calgary had to even up the score at 2 goals apiece. But I thought he rebounded well. You know, we had one question by somebody over on our YouTube chat that was asking about Jimmy Snuggerud's 10 minutes. I think when you look at a lot of these guys' minutes in the hockey game tonight, you have to remember that there was a lot of power play time and a lot of penalty kill time. I mean, again, Blues were on the penalty kill for a total of 12 minutes in this game. They were on the power play for 8 minutes. So essentially one whole period one whole period was swallowed up by power play and penalty kill. And for some of these guys like Nick Bukestad, like Alex Texier, like Jimmy Snuggerud played 3.5 minutes on the power play and played 6 minutes and 57 seconds of even strength time. And then compare that to Jake Neighbors. Jake Neighbors, 3:21 on the power play, 11 minutes at even strength time. So I do think that they like bumping up Jake Neighbors at key points of the hockey game if they feel as if he's rolling. And again, it's nothing against Jimmy Snuggerud. I thought Snuggerud had a really good game in terms of some passes, some opportunities to score. He picked up an assist on the power play, had 4 total shot attempts. But you just needed a different look. So what do? You drop Snuggerud down to play with a different centerman. I think at the point he was playing with Bukestad and Texier, and then you move up Jake Neighbors, and it pays off because Jake Neighbors picks up 2 goals, one of them on that line with Robert Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich, and then the same can be said on his second goal. Now, Thomas and Buch didn't get assists, but Thomas and Buchnevich did win the faceoff for the Blues. Neighbors gets to the front of the net and pounces and picks up that goal. So I do, again, I'm not reading into anything. That doesn't mean that Jake Neighbors or Jimmy Snuggerud played a bad game. But I think what happened was they saw one guy who was playing well, and they said, let's get him out there more, and they move him up to play with Jake Neighbors. But again, some of these lines, I was going to say this before the Blues took the lead, some of these lines just, the third and fourth line right now just aren't meshing. You saw Suter work with Walker and Joseph. That created an offensive opportunity that led to the goal. But otherwise, man, I think they're going to really benefit when Sundqvist comes back to have a fourth line that plays with an identity. Toropchenko wasn't in the lineup also, so that should come into your thought process. But also, Bukestad as that third-line right winger, because I didn't notice Texier a lot there tonight, and it really feels like they need another big body presence out there if Neighbors and Pius Suter are playing together for short sample sizes. But that's the benefit of this Blues team, right? To have versatility from top down in their lineup, and they've got guys that can move all over and still generate a lot of offense. So appreciate that one over in the chat. I know a couple of other people were asking about, Jordan Binnington / Joel Hofer's numbers. I think you're going to look at them on paper and you're going to be like, man, 5 goals by Binnington. But man, to go back into that game, you're talking about 3 unlucky bounces that hurt Binnington, and honestly, 1 unlucky bounce that hurt Joel Hofer tonight. So of the 7 goals that have been scored on the Blues, 4 of those 7s have just been, man, what are you going to do? Bounces just aren't going your direction tonight. And it was nice to see the bounces start to go the Blues' direction in that second period when they were ringing off of the post. Ted Drew's 3 takeaways from Harry over on X, and then we'll get to our final look. Said Neighbors and Thomas just seem to work together. I don't think you can separate them. I don't think anybody is safe in terms of these line combinations. You could see anybody playing with anybody on any night. That just seems to be how Jim Montgomery likes to work, which shouldn't surprise anybody because Craig Berube was that way too, where, hey, if he doesn't like a line in a couple of shifts, you're going to get moved off of it and moved to the next one. And it paid off tonight with Suter scoring on a new line, Neighbor scoring on a new line, Holloway getting a couple of chances, skating with a couple of different line combinations. So it's still a very fluid situation with a lot of those guys. So that's enough for me. Let's make our final look.
It's time to take a look back at tonight's game with the final look.
Driven by Pure Performance. Only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Somebody actually just sent me on X a look at the hockey stat card that just kind of put some stats out there from Dom over at The Athletic and Natural Stat Trick. Thomas, Fowler, Neighbors, Buchnevich, Falk, Suter, Philip Broberg, Parayko, Walker, Matthew Joseph. All of those guys outplayed their expectations in this one, and the underperformances were from Kyrou, from Shen, from Holloway, from Texier, Bukestad, and Logan Mailloux. So I actually don't really know if I noticed Mailloux a lot in this game. I know he was on the ice for that one goal against, only played 8 minutes and 18 seconds. But again, a lot of this is just kind of where it's at. Jim Montgomery said this in the preseason. They're not focused on special teams with Mailloux. They want him to be elite at 5-on-5. So not too worried about the power play or the penalty kill right now for Logan Mailloux. So just a final look back on this one. The Blues got back to what they needed to. They played aggressive. They had to deal with a lot of penalty troubles. That is one thing that's going to have to get tightened up before their next game. Can't be in the penalty box 6 times and expect to come out on top, because that's just, it's disrupting the chemistry of 5-on-5 play, where I think the Blues are at their best. But, once again, defensemen involved with the offense. They picked up 4 points on 3 goals tonight. One of those was on the power play. 2 of those was on that Jake Neighbors goal. But most importantly, they come out of the victory tonight, 1, because of Joel Hofer's incredible play in the second period, and 2, net front presence. They won the net front battle in the third period. Jake Neighbors and Suter both taking care of business in front of the net. So that's our final look, brought to you by Pure Performance. Coming up next, we'll tie that in with Pure Performance as well. We'll look ahead to the Vancouver Canucks, the team that the Blues will be taking on Monday. It's a 6:30 puck drop from Vancouver, with a pregame skate beginning at 6 o'clock, extended pregame right here on 101 ESPN starting at 5:30. And the Canucks picked up their first win of their new season under new coach Adam Foote. Scored 5 goals, beating this Calgary Flames team the other night. So they will be their opponent on Monday, and Vancouver's in action later on this evening as they're going to be on the road taking on the Edmonton Oilers. So Blues will be back at it, wrap up the 2-game road trip, and then they'll come home for a 4-game homestand that sees them play Chicago, Dallas, LA, and Utah. But until then, we're going to close it down here on the 4th period. Appreciate Grant Francis and Jordan Deacon's work. Did an outstanding job tonight back here in our 101 ESPN studios. I'm Alex Ferrario. Hope everyone has a great rest of their evening. Blues take down the Calgary Flames 4-2, back up to 2 points on the season, 1-1 overall. And we'll talk to you for Game 3 of this season on Monday night, starting at 5:30, right here on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the First Community Credit Union Blues Postgame.